So just this last UFC event, we had two Kung Fu based fighters going at it against each other. Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page. Congrats on MVP getting finally to UFC. But why I'm making this video is I want to talk a bit about MMA fighters' backgrounds, especially in terms of stuff that I'm personally interested in and that I've showcased on this channel. Things like various Kung Fu lineages, styles, different Kung Fu martial arts, and how, from what I've seen, combat sport people, sort of general MMA guys, don't seem to take such a martial arts background seriously as other ones. So we know that Michael Venom Page has a background in Lao Gar Kung Fu, and Kevin Holland has a background in Sun Tzu Kung Fu. Two genuine martial arts. And things often get thrown in the sense of, oh yeah, he's got that lineage, but he's not actually doing that in the cage. He's doing MMA. He's an MMA fighter. So like the whole Kung Fu aspect of it, it's useless. It's like they equate it to like kids doing karate when they're really young, and then they start doing combat sports and they're barely showcase any more of that karate because it was just the thing that they did before. But with these two people, it's not like that. It's different because they've competed before their entries in the UFC or even MMA with Kung Fu. So saying that they're not really Kung Fu fighters because they're doing MMA at the highest level is ridiculous, because we still, to this day, have specialists in UFC, and they're all doing MMA. Like, people talk about guys like Bo Nickel, like he's a super duper damn good wrestler, but he's fighting in MMA. He still punches, kicks, does the whole game of MMA. He's not just wrestling out there. That's ridiculous. But nobody would dispute his wrestling background. So why do people dispute Kung Fu backgrounds? I think, of course, let's be honest, Kung Fu people have damaged their martial arts reputations. Various Kung Fu masters for years now have been getting destroyed by combat sport athletes. But besides that, what I think is that most people out there don't realize that Kung Fu isn't a single martial art. That's just a label that addresses Chinese martial arts. And there's various different styles that are completely different than each other, and they're all Kung Fu. So some people probably see compliant drills and weird, flashy Kung Fu things, and they think, oh, that's Kung Fu. While you have styles of Kung Fu that have competed even before the UFC, in Sanshou and Sanda. And it all again goes to show that when something's functional, it's gonna look like fighting. And things that Michael Venom Page did and learned from Kung Fu, it's more or less the same stuff that people would equate with Taekwondo background. Because of the kicks, because of the point fighting. He did karate as well, from what I remember. Precisely there. If you do not know his actual background, but you see his fighting style, you could guess which style he's doing, and it wouldn't really matter because it all breaks down to normal fighting. Whether it's Taekwondo, karate, or some form of Kung Fu, it's gonna look more or less the same. So yeah, Kung Fu background fighters are a legit thing. They exist. Did we already forget about Zabit? Zabit Magomed Sharipov? The Kung Fu fighter, who is considered one of the wildest, craziest fighters, and probably in recent times the biggest what if in the UFC. So yeah, Kung Fu isn't a singular martial art, and fighting always looks like fighting. Things either work or they don't. The way you reach your level of fighting is what should separate the practices and what should separate the style. But everything adheres to the same principles of body mechanics. Do people be Kung Fu fighting? Absolutely, they still do.
Everybody was Kung Fu.